myself again. But it's the only way you're ever gonna learn. You look back and it's all in the past.
Good afternoon and welcome to NUFC Matters. It's Bank Holiday Monday. I hope you're having a good one. And on a Monday, we usually do Ladies' Night and we do the 5-minute rant. But because it's Bank Holiday and because we expect everybody's looking to do something a little bit different on a Bank Holiday, we thought we'd do the same. And I'm pleased to say that I'm joined by Alicia and Holly and by Chris and Pete for the final countdown, which means that we are going to look at the last 8 games that Newcastle United have got to play and work out what the panel feel are going to be the games where Newcastle are going to get the points to survive. Or do they think Newcastle aren't going to survive and they're going to drop out the Premier League? It's going to be interesting. I've got to test me maths. I'll tell you now, I've got an E in GCSE maths. So there could be a few cock-ups in this show. A lot of people are doing this. I went on the Al Walid show. Check it out. LW Newcastle. Well worth a watch. I went on with Stu Penman and gave my predictions. So it's just a chance for a few of our panelists to give theirs and see whether you agree with them. If you've got any points to make, drop them into the chat. So without further ado, we'll start with Pete and we'll look at his prediction for our next game, which is against Burnley. Burnley, of course, you would probably suggest are safe now, although they could still drop. You never know. It's a funny old game in the Premier League. And Burnley, of course, we played on the 3rd of October, which was a Saturday, and we won 3-1. Quite a comprehensive victory. St Maximin Wilson with a double, and we obviously travelled down to there for a noon kickoff on Sky on the 11th of April. So, Pete, your prediction for that game first and foremost.
I can't not be confident now going into that game after what we saw yesterday. To be honest, I always had it down for us to win the game. There were some games that we pinpointed. We thought, you have to get 3 points from, and Burnley's one of them. They don't score lots of goals. The one thing they've depended on is being solid at the back, and they've not even done that really this season. And with Callum Wilson coming back, Alan St Maximin getting some minutes yesterday, you got to feel confident that we could win that game. So for me, I think we'll win. I think we'll win 3-1.
Okay, 3-1 for you for that game. Yeah, and it's a wonder whether the Spurs game is going to affect everyone's way of thinking, because, as I say, my predictions with Al Walid, I've looked back through them and mine will stand. I thought that we wouldn't get anything out of Spurs, but I felt would beat Burnley. I did see Burnley as a win. So over to you, Holly, for your first prediction. Burnley, our next fixture.
I've always seen Burnley as a must-win game, so I think that we will get the 3 points from that game. I think we'll win 2-0. I think that we shouldn't find it too difficult, and I think that obviously the Spurs game has had a bit of an impact on how I feel about stuff, because undoubtedly it has made us feel a lot more positive, because they did show a lot more fight than we've seen in recent weeks. And I just hope that we can keep up that momentum. But now, hopefully, we are really seeing that we need to try and win these games to stay up, and I think that we should win against Burnley.
Okay, Alicia, 2 wins predicted so far. Are you as confident going into the Burnley game at the weekend?
Yeah, I'm going to join in that as well. I'm going to echo what the other two have said. I don't know, I just feel so much more positive after that Tottenham game. I know, if you look at it, we scored first. We should have really tried to see it through better than what we did. But Burnley are arguably easier opposition. We should be able to get something more out of that. And if we keep the fight and desire that was in that game, which I think is the thing that's going to carry us forward now, if we keep that, I do believe we can get something. But what a performance, can I just say, yesterday? So out of somewhere, this fight and desire has just come out of nowhere. I don't know if it's like Matt Ritchie coming back in, giving them a kicking or something. But yeah, out of nowhere, I wasn't expecting that whatsoever. So I am going to go for a win against Burnley. I think I'm going to go a 2-1 win, 2-1, 3-1.
Okay, 3 out of 3 so far, Chris. Are you going to spoil the party here?
Absolutely not. I'm not going to disappoint. No, I'm also backing us for the Burnley win. Just before the start, by the way, I just want to say, in case any of the NUFC matters people, any of the NUFC matters crew pull me up, or whether the loads people pull me up. I know I gave me predictions and they may alter slightly, but obviously that game yesterday, left me feeling really confident, and I'm pretty sure I did say we beat Burnley as well. So I think after the change in formation, the change in personnel, bringing the likes of Richie, Longstaff back in. I'm hoping Manquillo comes in for Kraft next game. I just thought we looked so much more solid yesterday. I know I've never been a fan of five at the back. I'm not a big advocate of it, but I just think with us having Wilson still out, St. Maximin only just easing back in. I think probably playing five at the back's wise, certainly for the foreseeable. I'm going to say a 2-0 win to Newcastle.
2-0 win to Newcastle. Well, that's a full house, which is great, and me included. I do feel we will get the 3 points against Burnley, a much needed 3 points, and that'll create a bit of a gap. And depending on what Fulham do, of course, next weekend as well, will hopefully give us a little bit of pressure off going into some big games. And of course, another big game after that, West Ham United. It's always an interesting fixture, West Ham. I mean, they are, known as entertainers per se. They play the kind of football playing the West Ham way. We've heard it all before. We played them early on in the season, and again, Wilson on the score sheet, 12th of September. Henrik, of course, not everyone's favourite player, also getting a goal in a 2-0 win away. So yeah, West Ham coming to St James's Park, 17th of April, 12:30 kickoff, live on Sky again. Pete, another Claret and Blue team. How do you see that one going?
I don't fear West Ham. I know they've had a good season, but they're not a team that I ever really fear when they come to St James's Park. They haven't got a great record up here. A little bit like Tottenham, over the years. They don't really do well against us. It doesn't matter how good their team is. And there's talk about Declan Rice being injured. I think he's done something to his knee. How long that is, we don't know. But he's the cog in their team. He's the thing that makes their team tick. And if they're without him, we've got a chance. They've obviously got good players, but so have we. And we'll have the likes of hopefully Wilson back and St Maximin back, and I think we can cause them problems. Look, it'd be easy for me to say with all the confidence that we've all got on the panel to say, yeah, we're going to win this game. I do believe, though, our home form will dictate where we end up this season. And I felt that for a while because we just seem to play better at home than we do away. But I'm going to go for a draw here. I think we'll do enough. A little bit like what we did in restart. I think we'll do enough to get a point. And I think it'll be a 1-1 draw.
1-1 draw from Pete. Okay, that's 4 points in the bag for Pete so far. Holly, West Ham, what's your prediction?
Same as Pete. I don't think we'll win the game, but I can see a draw. I'd go for a 2-2. I just think that I don't like the same as Pete. I don't ever fear West Ham. I don't think that they're particularly great. They do have chances where they mess up and we can get the points. But they are having a good season. Without Declan Rice, they'll be a lot worse, of course, if he does miss that game because he loves a goal against us. I think that goes back to the Sean Longstaff saga. That was a few years ago. But yeah, I can see a 2-2. I don't think we'll lose that game.
Okay, that's another draw. Alicia, down to you now.
I'm going to go for a draw as well. I think Declan Rice is possibly out for 4 weeks, is what I've read. So covers us for that game. So although it's just one player, they do have informed players. Jesse Lingard out in nowhere's putting performances in. He's doing really well. So they do have players that can still hurt us. I am going to go for a draw, though. I think it'll be 1-1. I'm hoping we can get something from it because I'm not too confident after this. But I'm going to hope for a draw. I'm going to go for a draw.
Okay, another draw. Chris?
Do you know what? Just listening to you all there, I was dying to say 2-1. But I think back-to-back wins, it's probably not to be expected. So me head's saying 2-1, but my heart is saying 1-1. I think we'll get a point. I don't think we'll get beat. But you know, Declan Rice being out's a big plus. But as Pete rightly said, you know, West Ham have got some really good players. That Souček in the middle, he's been really, really good for them this season. They've obviously got Bowen. Yeah, I'm gonna stick with me heart on this one. I'm gonna say 1-1.
Wow, all panelists agreeing so far. So here we go again, and this could be interesting as well. This if you all go for the same result again, I would be surprised if anyone goes for something different here. But Liverpool, of course. Former league champions almost now. Man City looking set to win the league. We take them on the 24th of April, which is 12:30, and that is coverage on BT Sports. We did play them Wednesday the 30th of December this season at home. It was a 0-0 draw, and we've now got a big task ahead, because Liverpool are starting to turn the corner. They've been through a bad spell, losing that impressive home record, and not just losing it, but went on a hell of a losing streak. But they're starting to turn things around now. Players coming back and starting to get their form again. So Pete, how do you see that one going?
Everyone else has won there.
Yeah, well, but it's Newcastle going there now. I know. What? Hey, you know.
I'm joking. We are getting beat. It would just be a case of by how many. So that would be one game where I fully expect us to play 5 at the back and try and keep the score line down. Look, it doesn't matter who's won there. It doesn't matter what Liverpool's form is. We've always had a mentality at grounds like that. You know, whether it's Highbury in the past, Stamford Bridge, Anfield, Old Trafford. Doesn't matter what form we're in or what form they're in. We always don't seem to get a result there. So I think it'll be 2-0 Liverpool. I think they'll win quite comfortably.
Okay, 2-0 to Liverpool, says Pete. What about you, Holly?
I think it'll be a 3-1 to Liverpool. I don't think we can see us winning there, really. It's not very realistic, but I don't think it matters too much, because I don't think that's where we need to target those games for points. We still have opportunities to get points to stay up, so it's not too important. But we have drawn against them this season. You never know what could happen. But yeah, I would say a 3-1 win for Liverpool.
Okay, 3-1 win for Liverpool. Alicia, can you see us getting anything at Anfield?
I feel like this is another head in my heart situation. My head says we're going to get battered, and my heart says we could possibly get a draw. Fulham beat them. If we're going off that situation, be more positive about it. Obviously, getting a good draw against Tottenham, but I think it depends where they are within the race of Europe. If they're kind of sitting comfortably, it might sway in our favour. But if they're still fighting for it, I think, they're going to want to win, and we know what they could do, and they'll just turn it on back. We're probably about 3-0 if we're being realistic. But I'm going to be positive and say we might get a draw, but I am going to go 3-0 Liverpool.
Okay, I thought you were teasing us there, Alicia. All right, Chris. Over to you for another clean sweep, perhaps.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be a clean sweep, this one. I mean, being from the area, I've obviously witnessed many games at Anfield, and we don't have much success there, as we all know. I was actually there last season. I was on the front row, and when Jetro Williams smashed that first goal in, I think it was 9 minutes in or something, and honestly, for literally 2 minutes, I don't remember where I was. I don't remember what happened. I just went bananas, and I was just so mad. I was on my own as well. I was literally on the front row behind the goal, and when Jetro smashed that in, we were all just in shock. And then it went to 1-1, and then I was like, right, okay, just hang on, just a draw at half time's fine. Then it went 2-1 just before half time. Then it was 3-1, and I thought, oh no, that was short lived. So yeah, for me, I think we're getting beaten at Anfield comfortably. They've already lost many games at Anfield this season, which is unheard of. So I'm going to say a 2-0 defeat.
2-0 defeat. Okay, it is another clean sweep. Despite Alicia alluding to a possible draw there, she did go for a defeat. So scores are marked down, and we'll move on now to Arsenal, the Gunners. or the Gooners, and 2 games against them already this season. Of course, we played them in the FA Cup third round, losing 2-0 after extra time. Give us a little bit of false hope. We did play quite well in that game, it has to be said. And then a couple of weeks, not even a couple of weeks later, we travelled back down to Highbury, back down to the Emirates, Monday the 18th of January, we played them, losing by an extra goal, 3-0, with Aubameyang finally breaking his duck against us in both of those games. He'd gone a long time without scoring and managed to get a couple of goals in the league as well. So a 3-0 defeat. So they come to St James's Park to face Newcastle on the 1st of May. Television hasn't been confirmed for that yet. We will be televised, we're led to believe, but it is to be confirmed. Saturday the 1st of May. So that date will probably change. But Pete, yes, Arsenal, always a tough game for us. They're still at the right end of the table, still chasing potential European slots, etc. Of course, a lot could change over the next couple of weeks with various results, but they're in the mix. How do you see that one going?
This is where I think my opinion will differ from one or two others on the panel. I've said it before. There's going to be a game in there, a game that we're expected to lose that we'll end up winning, and I think Arsenal at home will be the one. I think we'll win that game. Again, I don't see anything from Arsenal that I have to be worried about as a Newcastle fan. Aubameyang's not playing well. Saka's a decent player, but they've got a lot of holes, a lot of gaps in their team, in their midfield, in their defence, that I think, with the way that we're playing at home, we can exploit that. So I think we'll win, and I think we'll win 2-1. And I think that'll be, and I hope and pray that'll be the result that really kind of starts to cement, based on my other predictions, that'll be the result that sort of cements our place in this league for another season.
Okay. A win against Arsenal. Holly, do you see that, or are you going for a different result?
No, I think we'll get beat. It sounds really negative, but I'll go for a 3-0 to Arsenal. I hate playing Arsenal. They're one of those teams that always just really worry us when we play them. I just think the amount of times that we've played them and then you just get a total shock, like they've been on a bit of a bad run and you think, oh, maybe we can get something, and then they just come out, get back right into their good form and beat us. And I hate playing Arsenal. So I think they'll turn it around and it'll be a 3-0 defeat for us, unfortunately.
Okay, 3-0 defeat. The panel's starting to disagree. Alicia?
I'm going to go down the middle. I'm going to go for a draw. I do think we can get something. I'm going to hope we're not going to get battered by Arsenal. I feel like they've got a mistake in them out of all of like the big teams, if you want to call them that, the top 6 kind of thing. I feel like they're the one with the mistake in them. You know, as Pete said, they've got a gap in that team. They're not doing well of late. There's questions over Arteta and things like that. So they're not in the best place. 2 weeks' time, that could all change. But I'm going to be optimistic for a draw. I'm going to go for 1-1. But I wouldn't be surprised to see 3 points. But I'm going to go for a draw.
Okay, we've got one of each, Chris. Where are you going to go with this one?
Yeah, I was just going to put a bit of tension up there and say who I'm going to agree with, but I'm going to absolutely agree with Pete. I think we beat Arsenal. We've played them twice this season already. Obviously we had them in the cup, didn't we? And we just didn't perform well at all. Although one of the games I think we played okay, but it was just one of those very fine lines where it just didn't go our way. I think we were losing 1-0, but we were really in the game and we were having a go. And then they scored the second, and then that was it. It was done. I think that was the game Emile Smith-Rowe scored, from what I remember. But yeah, I think Arsenal season's done. I think most people will agree with that. They're the mid-table. They're not going to go down. They're not going to get into Europe. I think we do them. I think we do them 2-1. And I think that's when everyone will start thinking, yeah, we're staying up. So yeah, I'm going to say 2-1 Newcastle.
2-1 to Newcastle. So that's another 3 points added to Chris's total. And next up, Leicester City The Foxes, of course, again having a really good season under Brendan Rodgers. He just seems to have them firing on all cylinders. And of course, when you've got Jamie Vardy, in your lineup, it's worth a goal start. We played them, of course, on the 3rd of January, the turn of the year. It was a 2-1 defeat. Andy Carroll, of course, managing to finally break the hoodoo in that game with a consolation goal after Maddison and Tielemans had given Leicester the lead. So now we're travelling to the King Power Stadium, Pete. It's a pity you can't just pop in because you're not too far away from there.
No, I'm literally a 10-minute drive from the ground, and I tend to go to that game every year in the away end.
Well, you never know. Fans could be back in. I mean, it's Saturday the 8th of May. We seem to be getting quicker and quicker towards getting back out. You never know. There might be a certain amount of fans allowed in. You might be able to swing a ticket for the home end. You never know.
No chance. I'm not going in the home end. I refuse to go in the home end. Because I'm sorry, if we score, I'm going mad and I'm going to get kicked out. So I'd rather just watch it at home. I've got to be honest. I made that sort of agreement with myself quite a few years ago that I would never ever go in the home end for that reason, because I can't contain myself. I think the last time I was in the home end for a game was Aston Villa away when Leon Best scored the equaliser, and my wife had to hold me down because I was about to go mad. Look, if it was up to me, I'd be saying 6-0 Newcastle, because I'm not a fan of Leicester, even though I live here. But at the same time, I respect their team. They're everything we want to be. They've got some very, very talented players. And to be fair, a while back, when we sort of discussed this, I was always confident that we might get something, because Leicester are very, very good away from home, but they have the tendency to have a really bad home game. And Fulham benefited from that earlier on in the season. But they're getting their players back now. Madison's back, and a few others are coming back in. Ricardo Pereira, I think, is a fantastic fullback. I just can't see anything now than a Leicester win. They are playing very, very well. So I think Leicester will win 2-0.
The Pete Derby, says Keith Rowe. That's what that's what it's going to be known as on NUFC Matters moving forward. Holly, Leicester City.
I think that it'll be 2-1 to Leicester. I think we'll be very much in the game. I could see it being 1-1 for quite a while, and then they'll score a late-minute kind of winner. But I think we'll put in a good shift, but I don't think we'll get the win. Leicester's another team that I hate to play, because I do think they've got some really good quality players. I think they're underestimated quite a lot. People think we can easily get a result from them, but I don't think people realise how good the talent within that squad actually is, and they've definitely got it within them to beat any team, I think, and they're having a good season. So yeah, I will go for 2-1 to Leicester, which I don't think is that bad of a result, to be honest.
2-1 to Leicester. Okay, mark that down, Holly. Alicia, what about you?
Yeah, I'm completely agreeing with Holly. I think they are a very underestimated team. I think everybody writes them off. I think Brendan Rodgers has done, fair play, a brilliant job with Leicester this year. I think Perez is going to want to prove a point and might bag himself a goal. I'm going to go 2-1 as well, but I don't know. I want to be positive and say a draw, but realistically, is that going to happen? Probably not. So I'm going to go for a Leicester win, unfortunately.
Okay, Leicester win, marked down for Alicia. Chris, where do you sit on this one, Leicester?
Yeah, clean sweep. I can't see us getting anything against Leicester. I was surprised actually, because I was going to say just before we started that I was going to split the panel, because I was sure Pete. I know Pete said a while ago, didn't you, Pete, that you fancied us to get something against Leicester, but yeah, they've just got quality throughout the team, haven't they? As Pete mentioned, Pereira, Castagna, Fofana, Vardy, Tielemans, Maddison, Ndidi. You could go on, Barnes. They've just got quality throughout the team, and obviously with home advantage, I'm a fan of Brendan Rodgers. Yeah, I just think they're going to be too strong for us, unfortunately. I'm still made up that we managed to get 30 million for Perez. I've got to be honest off them, because I still think that was a cracking deal for us. But yeah, I'm going to say a Leicester home win, and I think they'll beat us 3-1.
Okay. I've got that marked down. So we come into the final 3 games of the season. Manchester City will be next up, and again, no TV confirmation yet. We played them on Boxing Day away, and that was a 2-0 win for Manchester City. Could have been more if my memory serves us correctly. This time we play them on a Wednesday night, 12th of May, and our form against Manchester City at home hasn't been that bad, even under Steve Bruce. It has to be said. There's been, El Alamo kind of performances, backs against the wall under Rafa. Who could forget that really, strategical game, if you like, where Rafa got hammered by the media and the press, but everybody who was at that game said, "Wow, what a defensive masterclass." So there's been some victories as well against Manchester City. So this isn't a formality, but Wednesday the 12th of May at home, Manchester City, who could be Premier League champions by then as well. Let's bear that in mind. Pete, over to you for that one. Your prediction for that game?
Well, they will be Premier League champions by then. There's no doubt about it. They are absolutely romping to the title, and deservedly so, because they're the best team in England. I love watching them play. They're a fantastic team. They don't score as many goals this season as previous seasons when they go really smash teams. They're not really that type of team, but they do enough to get the points. It's an interesting one because, like we just said, they'll have wrapped up the league by then. Are they going to rest players? Are they thinking with the Champions League in mind? Are they going to have FA Cup as well? Are they going to have other thoughts in there? We don't know. But if they play their best team, they will win, and they'll win comfortably. And it'll, again, I'll probably say 3-1 to Man City. But yeah, I think it will all depend on where they're at and where their focus is as to whether we could get something. But I'm going to go 3-1 to Man City.
3-1 to Man City, says Pete. Holly, are you predicting another defeat here?
No, I'm going to differ probably from most of the panel here and be more positive. I think this will be our shock result. I don't think we'll get a win, but I'll go for a 0-0. I think that we could get the draw. I just think we'll play 5 at the back. We'll be really, really defensively, and we'll just shut down Man City's attack and hold on to that point till the end. I think it'll be very scrappy and it'll be hard, but I think we'll manage to just hold on to that point. So 0-0 for me.
0-0 for Holly. Okay, that's a battling performance for Newcastle against Man City there. Alicia, are you following Holly, or are you going with Pete, or you got a different result in mind?
They are going to be Premier League champions by then. I'm going to say something absolutely ridiculous here, so I'm going to get slaughtered in the comments. But I can see a result if we're really scrapping for it, we're really fighting, and we continue the mentality that we've got at the minute, because I feel like we turn up more for the bigger teams than we do the likes of your Southamptons, your Burnleys, things like that. I feel like we turn up for the occasion, for the spectacle. I remember that 2-1 when we beat them at home, and I'm kind of hoping for something like that again, some miracle. But I think we could either hold on for a 0-0 draw or possibly nick it 1-0. But that's in the realms of fantasy. But I don't know, something inside's just telling me that we could possibly get something.
So you're going for a draw?
I'm going to go for a win.
A win.
I'm going to go 1-0.
Okay, 1-0 win, Alicia. Wow, okay. Chris, over to you, mate. Are you as confident as Alicia?
Not quite, no. But I do see Alicia's point, and I'm going to agree with Holly, actually. Not on the score, but certainly on what she said about a battling performance. I think City will have won the title by then, as we all know. I do remember, funnily enough, I was away with work, actually. I was at a conference having my evening meal, and I remember I was checking my phone, and I seen Aguero scored after 1 minute, and I was like, oh God, but it's gonna be a cricket score. And then the reception wasn't very good where I was, and then I checked, and I got 2 notifications through dead quick because my reception was so bad, and it said 1-1, and I seen that Rondon had scored, and I was like, oh great. And then it beat through again straight away, and it said that we were 2-1 up, and Richie had scored a penalty, and I just remember thinking, wow, I can't believe it. So I think it's going to be a battling performance. I don't think we get turned over by any stretch, as in a 3-4-5-0. I don't see that happening. But I'm going to say a narrow 2-1 defeat. But I agree. I think it's going to be a battling performance, and I think we'll will do well, and it'll hopefully set us up nicely for the following game.
Okay, just mark that down. A 2-1 defeat, says Chris, for the Manchester City fixture. Now, into the final two games. And I guess when we all looked at the start of the season and looked at the fixture list, I think most of us saw Fulham and thought, that could be an important game, and minds were cast back to the wonderful trip down there last time when it was in the sun, and Rafa Benitez took us down there, and thousands of fans travelled down on the water rather than in trains and planes and cars. And I think we're looking at the Sheffield United fixture, of course, and thinking could be a tough game, that, because Sheffield United, of course, last season were the surprise package, talking of potentially qualifying for Champions League at one point last season, but they have plummeted like the proverbial stone. They've been found out. But of course, when a team does that in the Premier League, the one team they always like to play and the one team they always get a result is against is Newcastle. Tuesday the 12th of January, of course, away at Bramall Lane. So Sheffield United get the only goal of the game through a Billy Sharp penalty to send Newcastle crashing to an embarrassing defeat, 1-0. And obviously gave Sheffield United the hopes and aspirations that they could make a great escape. It hasn't been possible. They are plummeting towards the Championship, and of course we take them on in our second last game of the season, Saturday the 15th of May. At the moment it probably will be moved for TV coverage, and they travel to St James's Park in their horrendous luminous pink away top, Pete. Where do you see that going, that game, Sheffield United?
Banker, absolute banker. And the reason being is because it has to be. It has to be a banker. You've got a Sheffield United team that will be relegated by then. They're already very, very split in the camp because of the fact that the manager's left and who's taken over. They'll have one or two players back, but we should be winning that game, and we should be winning it comfortably. So for me, I see it a 3-0 win. I think we'll win the game. I think we'll win it comfortably, and it will make the Fulham game a non-contest.
Okay, a non-contest. Are you as confident about that one, Holly? 3-0, Pete's gone. Mark that down. What about you?
I'd go for a 2-0 to us. I think we'll definitely win. I think the confidence will go up. We'll know we need those points to stay up in the league, and I think we should easily do it. I think Sheffield United will be a very defeated team by then, and they won't really have the confidence. So I think we should get a 2-0 win, and that'll help us stay up easily.
Okay, that's another win. And Alicia, over to you. Sheffield United at home, our final home game of the season.
Yep, I'm going to go for a win as well. I know teams that Sheffield United will be relegated by then. They're the worst teams to play because they have nothing to lose, and they'll go out there and they'll be playing for contracts. Some of them will want to be back in the Premier League next season and be trying to get moves away. So it is the worst teams to play. But I feel like it would be worse for us if Chris Wilder was still there. I feel like he could instill something in them. But him being gone now has left this massive hole in that team, and normally it galvanizes a squad when a manager goes and a new manager comes in, but it just hasn't happened at Sheffield United. And I feel they really respected Chris Wilder, and I feel like it's gone against them. So I'm going to go for a 2-0, a comfortable win.
Okay, comfortable 2-0 win. Chris, is it a clean sweep on the panel for this one?
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with everything everyone said. It's a must win, and I think it should be a comfortable win. And don't forget as well, by then, hopefully, bar no more injuries, we'll have a fully fit Wilson and St Maximin, and I think they'll tear them a new one, to use a football expression. So yeah, I think it'll be a comfortable 2-0 win.
I wonder who came up with that football expression, tear them
I
a new
know.
one. We'll have to Google it.
I love it,
Yeah, okay. Fulham is our final game of the season. We did play them on Saturday, the 19th of December. That was again at St James's Park. Another penalty from Wilson, so a 1-1 draw. And their goal came courtesy of an own goal by Matt Ritchie. So, final game of the season, Sunday the 23rd of May, 4 o'clock kickoff Whether it's televised remains to be seen. It depends whether Newcastle or Fulham, of course, are safe by then. We hope it doesn't go to that final game of the season. But Pete, over to you for your prediction on that one.
I think we win. I think we win. I don't. There's been a lot of talk about Fulham recently, about how good a team they are and how well they're playing. I don't think they are. I don't think they're playing overly well. I think they're a team that tries to stay in the game and then try and nick a 1-0 win. They don't score many goals. If any team scores first, they win the game, because Fulham don't know how to get back into a game and stay in a game where they can win it. And I think we'll just have too much for them. I honestly do. I think we've got a bigger attacking threat than them. And I think we're going to cause them problems. I think all the pressure will be on them. Because I honestly believe that it will be sort of wrapped up for us by that point. And I still believe that the likes of Burnley and Brighton will be still fighting it out with Fulham. And I think the pressure will be all on them. And I think we'll be able to pick them off, particularly on the counter-attack. So I think we'll win. I think we'll win 1-0. Yeah, man, I'm confident that those last two games that we'll pick up 6 points.
Okay, that's another win. Holly, what about you? Fulham away, last game of the season. Is it a win for us?
I think it's going to be the best game of the season. I think it'll be 3-0 in Newcastle. I think that they'll prove a point that we are the better team than Fulham and that we are the ones that deserve to stay in the Premier League, and we'll send them down. And I just think it'll be a really, really good day. I can't wait for that game, to be honest, if we're safe by then, that is, because otherwise, no, I'm not looking forward to it at all. But yeah, I think we'll embarrass them and just prove that we are the ones that deserve to stay in the Premier League instead of them.
Okay, that's another 3 points to Holly's total. Alicia, what about you? Fulham away, last game of the season.
I don't want to be negative. I think it's going to be a lot closer than what people are thinking. If it's not decided at that point, I feel like we will come out on top and we would fight for the win. I do feel like Fulham would come under that pressure, and we need to be that team that proves to stay in the league. We've done it before final games of the season. We always seem to do it. But if it's wrapped up and decided that we're safe and Fulham aren't, I feel like it could be a lot of a closer game. I'm hoping not. I'm hoping that we can prove. But I just feel like we always struggle against them. We never really tend to break away. Back in the Championship when we got battered first game of the season and things like that. I know it's a completely different setup now, but I never feel confident against them. So I'm going to go for a 1-1.
1-1 draw.
Yeah.
Okay, good stuff. Chris, last person on the panel to give us your prediction for this game before I tot them all up.
Yeah, see, I'm more going with Alicia here. I've got to be honest, I just don't see us winning the game. I hope it's a non-game. We may win if it's a non-game, because Fulham may be with down tools at that point. It could literally go either way. I think. I think if the game is on the line and there's something to play for, I think the best case scenario for us is a draw. I just don't see us beating them. I don't know what it is. I don't feel like we deal with pressure very well, and I just can't see us going there and getting a win. I know that sounds really negative, but I'm hoping that it's all done and dusted by then anyway. And I personally think it will be a bit of a non-game. The result yesterday, the Fulham had, that was just fantastic, because they were 1-0 up. Everyone was buzzing. We were in the bottom three, and then they just went out and conceded 3 goals. So I'm hoping by the last game of the season it is a non-game, in which case I'm going to say a 1-1 draw.
A 1-1 draw. Okay, good stuff. Right, I'll just top these up. And okay, Chris and Holly both see Newcastle coming up with 11 points out of the remaining 8 games. So that gives us 40 points, which is often said to be the amount of points you need to survive. Alicia, slightly more optimistic than Holly and Chris with 12 points. And Pete, who I thought would have been the most pessimistic out of everybody, has come up with 13 points. So he's He's given us wins galore, Pete. I tell you what, I'll go with you, Pete, mate, 100%. But look, it's great, it's fascinating. There's a great question coming from somebody in the chat here. It's Mark Henderson, and I'll put this to all of you. He said, "How would you predict the Fulham game if it is whoever wins stays up?" So, if we go into that game, Pete, and it's basically winner takes all, does your prediction of a win change?
No, because I think we've got better players. And Fulham have already shown this season, in the last 6 or 7 weeks, that they don't deal well with pressure. When they've had the opportunity to take us over and to get more points than us, they've failed every time so far. And I'm not saying that's going to continue, but when they've had the opportunity to really kind of kick on, they haven't done it. So I know that we don't deal well with pressure, but neither do they. And they're the home team, and they'll have fans behind them, so there'll be expectation there. And I think with that, there's a chance or a likelihood that Fulham are going to push men forward to really try and catch us off. But equally, that plays into our hands because we've got the likes of St. Maximin, Almiron, Wilson. We've got Willock, if he's playing, making those late runs. We've got players that can hurt them on the counter-attack. And I think that could really play into our hands, which is why I'm confident that we'll win there. And I'm not going to change my mind. I honestly believe that we've got enough. You know, that result yesterday for Fulham will be a massive, massive dent in their survival hopes. Now, they have to go and win against Wolves on Friday. And I don't even think they'll do that. And I think if they don't win on Friday, I think that will really, really start to hit home with their fans and with their players, that they've been trying and scratching and clawing to try and get to the point where they can take us over, and they still haven't. They've literally given everything now. That Fulham form that got them closer to us won't continue. It won't last forever. And the longer or the closer we get, bearing in mind they've got less games to play, I think it will just be enough. I think it will be enough for us to stay in the league.
Okay, Holly, you went for a win as well. Would you stick with that if it came to a winner takes all? Would the nerves get the better of Newcastle? We've been in those situations before, and we haven't fared well.
It will be a lot of pressure for both teams, but I think that we'll still get the win, and I don't think we'll just win. I think we will batter them, because I just think that our squad is a lot better than theirs, and also, no disrespect to Fulham, but they are a yo-yo team. Like, that's what they're kind of used to, whereas we should be in the Premier League without question. So I think we'll want it more when it comes to the day, and I think a lot of players that have maybe been not stepping up to the mark will step up, and they'll really put in that fighting performance, and I just think we'll go out there and absolutely terrify Fulham's defence and just win easily. All
right, Alicia, you went for a draw. You were a bit more cautious on this one. If it goes down to the proverbial 6-pointer, winner takes all, do you think Newcastle's got the minerals to stay up?
I think we have to. I don't think it is. I think we have to. But as I keep saying, you can never tell when Newcastle will be on one week and then completely off at the next. If this kind of fight that they've got out of nowhere, and I don't know if it's going to stay, continues, and we were playing like how we played yesterday in that game, I'm confident we would get 3 points. It would also be typical for Mitrovic to turn up in that game and, to stick the nail in the coffin in that one. I could see that happening, but realistically, of course, I think we would win that one. But I'm going to throw something in here. I'm getting a bit worried about West Brom now as well. They're starting to climb up a little bit. Beating Chelsea, they're going to have confidence. Apparently, Sam Allardyce gets a new contract if he keeps them up. So I'm just saying they might be one to keep an eye on. I know Fulham's kind of the main focus at the minute, but I would just be keeping an eye on West Brom in the background there as well.
Yeah, Big Sam's got a reputation for getting teams out of it. I think I mentioned it on the live chat before yesterday that he was the focus of Football Focus's interview when he was talking about it and the great escapes he's had. But yeah, you're right. You can't switch off. You just got to concentrate on your own form. And at the moment, we've got a game in hand on Fulham, and we've got to play them. it's in our hands.
Yeah.
Chris, you predicted a draw as well in that game. Again, just reacting to that question we got from the people in the chat. Is that a different game for us? Do you see Newcastle, struggling under pressure if we need to get 3 points out of that game?
Yeah, absolutely. It's a great question for Mark. For me, if it was down to whoever won took the glory and stayed up, I think Fulham beat us. I've got to be honest. I know that sounds really negative, but I've just got a feeling about it. But what I will say is, I don't think it will get to that point. I did a little tally up in my head earlier of how many points I think Fulham are going to get between now and the end of the season, and I can see them getting a max of 8. I think Pete's absolutely right. They've got on this fantastic run, and they've given themselves an opportunity. But I think it's too little, too late for Fulham. Albeit, we could absolutely crash, but I'm hoping now with our better players coming back, we're going to pick up enough points required. To touch on Alicia's point, I know a couple of people mentioned West Brom, possibly being back in it, and you're absolutely right, Alicia. I mean, the only thing for me is though when you look at the distance and the points that are required at the moment, West Brom are on 21 points. So I think in order for West Brom to even stand a chance, these have to win 5, possibly 6 of the last 8, which I just don't see happening. I know Allardyce has got a history of battling, and he's used to those relegation battles and getting performances out of his teams. But I think he's left it too late. So I think it is a straight shootout between ourselves and Fulham, and I think last game of the season, it will be irrelevant. But if it was to come down to it, as Mark suggested, I think we get beat.
Obviously, a question from Keith Roll. Fulham game less than us now. Game's running out for everybody, but they have a game less. And Chris has already mentioned there that he's done a quick tot up of their results, and he feels that we will just pip them, Pete. Just to give you an idea, I've just got them up in front of us. Obviously, they've got Wolves on Friday. They've got an opportunity to potentially go above us and drop us into the relegation zone. They also have Arsenal away, Chelsea away, Burnley at home, Southampton away, Manchester United away, and then of course that final game against Newcastle at home on the last game of the season. So Pete, are Fulham gonna do well in those fixtures, do you think?
I'm not going to say they're going to do well. I think they'll draw a few of those games, but I don't think draws are enough for them. They're 3 points behind us right now, so we've got a 3-point advantage on them, but we've got an extra game to play. And yes, at the time I think it was Liverpool, but I think it's now changed because of fixtures to another game that effectively becomes our game in hand. And I just think that with us getting our best players back now, I was always of the mindset, if we were still above them by the time that Miggy, Wilson and St Maximin came back from their injuries, I felt that we would stay up. I felt if we were anywhere in the bottom 3 below Fulham at that point, I thought we would struggle because we've got to then claw it out. And I believe the fact that we're 3 points ahead of them with our better players back now, we have probably got the more difficult fixtures of the lot. But a lot of those fixtures against the likes of Arsenal, against the likes of West Ham, and okay, you got Man City, but you got Sheffield United. They're all home. They're all at home, and I've said it before, and I'll say it again. We are playing our best football at home at the moment, and I think against those teams that are not the best out there, Arsenal are playing amazingly well. There are gaps in West Ham's game. We can exploit them, and we can get points from them, and I believe that we will. The point made about West Brom, I completely agree with what Chris was saying. They've got to claw 6 points back from us before they even get started. They're already down. For me, this is one job too many for Sam Allardyce. He's been hailed as this super saving manager. But he's done one job too many. He will get relegated for the first time in his career this season with West Brom, and rightly so, because they're not a very good side at all. They're not, even with Sam Allardyce, not been very good. And like I say, with Fulham, they've got some tough games. You know, they've got Arsenal away, they've got Chelsea away, they've got Man United away. So all of their tough games are away from home, and with that, always adds a little extra pressure on them. You know, and even the Burnley games and the Southampton games are not set in stone either, because those two teams are capable of putting out a result. So I just think there's just I just think we've got too much with the squad, with the fixtures, with the fact that we've got a game in hand. I think we've just got too much for those other two teams.
Yeah. Okay, Holly, what's your thoughts on Fulham? Just just read their fixtures out there. I'll do it again though. Wolves obviously Friday, Arsenal, Chelsea, Burnley, Southampton, Man United, and then of course the playoffs.
I think they'll get 7 points from those games. I think they'll get a draw with Wolves, and then I think they'll beat Southampton and Burnley. But I think that I think that they won't get enough points to go above us in the table, because I think their fixtures are probably a little bit harder or just as hard as ours. I don't think they have got really easier fixtures, and I don't think we have to worry too much about West Brom either. Like Alicia was saying, it was a good point, but I don't think right now we have to worry about them. And yeah, I just think that 7 points will be a max from them, and we obviously have predicted us to get 11, so we should stay up without worry if that's the case.
Okay, positive. Alicia? Oh, you're on mute, Alicia.
I'm on mute after I've done that. I can only see them getting about 7-8 points. I completely agree with Holly. And by our predictions, that means realistically we should be in the Premier League next season. So hopefully it goes that way. I think they've just got too many of the bigger teams left to play, which is going to be their downfall. I think Burnley and Southampton is going to be their main ones that then get something from. Possibly might get a point off Wolves, but apart from that, I can't see much more.
Okay, yeah, and Chris, I mean, you started off on that, but yeah, I mean, it's a tough run in, isn't it, for Fulham? It's a tough run in when you're not playing to a high standard, or you're not playing well, and Fulham did collapse this weekend, and that's a positive for us looking at it, and looks as if Lookman might be struggling now as well.
Yeah, I think Pete and the Gales hit the nail on the head. Really, they've got too many big teams, and they're away from home. So I think it'll be too difficult for them. I mean, we've seen stranger things happen, and they went to Anfield, didn't they, and did the business. But I feel like they've had their run now, and yeah, the max I see them getting is 8, and I am factoring in that as well. Them getting 3 points from us last game of the season and drawing against Wolves on Friday. I've got a feeling it'll be a draw. I think Wolves have still got something to fight for. Wolves haven't been great. And they're due some wins, and I think Wolves will be all over it on Friday. I think they'll be bang up for it. So, I suppose with Fulham, it was the manner of the defeats that really got me. Like last night, they were 1-0 up and then lost 3-1. Same thing happened against City. They lost, I think it was 3-0, but it was the way they were conceding the goals. They played really well, and then defensively they just fell apart. And I thought that's gonna get in their heads. And it was interesting actually when I saw that all the players walking off yesterday against Villa. They all looked so angry and they were all shaking their heads. And it was as if they kind of thought, were saying to themselves, we shouldn't be in this position. We're playing some all right football, but we're just not. It's not clicking. And I think that's where mentally they're going to be weak. And with our players coming back, as Pete said, we're going to fancy the next few games, particularly the Burnley game and the Arsenal game and the West Ham game, and I think we pick up points from there. I think probably a minimum of 5, possibly 6, and I just don't see Fulham replicating that, and I think the gap will get bigger and bigger. What is interesting as well is that we look at Burnley and Brighton. I mean, I said, I think it was last week or the week before, I think Burnley and Brighton are safe now, but those results yesterday, it does beg the question. You could even find that we leapfrog Burnley or Brighton, and they're the ones who are having the struggles with Fulham.
Alan Thompson was asking that, Chris. Can Brighton get dragged into it? They haven't they've got some difficult fixtures ahead. There is always a team that drops like a stone. I think people were looking at Southampton potentially thinking they could be that. They got a good result the other day, but yeah, I mean Brighton could get dragged into it.
Yeah, because it was a huge result for Southampton yesterday, wasn't it? I think they were 2-0 down to Burnley and then won 3-2. Massive. Southampton will be fine. yeah, could be Brighton or Burnley. It really could. I mean, the game now against Burnley, we say it every single week, but it's huge, isn't it? If we go and turn Burnley over, Burnley all of a sudden are looking over the shoulders, thinking, "Oh God, we could get dragged in here." So yeah, I think it's between Burnley and Brighton if any of them get involved. But yeah, I personally I think we'll have too much. I do think we'll have too much, and I do think the last game of the season will be irrelevant, and that's certainly what I'm hoping for as well.
Yeah, I hope you're right. Brighton, just a quick one on that for the panel before we finish. Pete, do you think Brighton could be the team that gets dragged into it?
Yeah, I do. I think I mentioned it going into the last game of the season. I believe that Fulham will still be fighting it out with somebody, and I think it could well be Brighton. You know, if we beat Burnley at the weekend, we got a point behind them. So, you know, if we're in a relegation battle, then so are they. If we win at the weekend, it's as simple as that. So it brings everyone into it. And there's another question as well, and I know they play tonight, but Wolves are only on 35 points. You know, Wolves aren't guaranteed to be safe, and they haven't had the best of seasons either. So, you know, they need a couple of wins to really sort of guarantee their spot in the Premier League. And, you know, if they don't win tonight and then they play again on Friday, they're going to need a win just as much as Fulham do, because they don't want to get dragged down into a situation. So it's still up in the air, and it can change very, very quickly. You know, everyone seems to talk about it's a straight shootout between us and Fulham. I don't believe it is, and I honestly believe, and I think it's reflected in my points total. I mean, one or two of them might change. You know, I'm being overly positive about the likes of, you know, Arsenal and you know, Fulham and Sheffield United, but one or two of them may differ from a win to a draw. But still, I still believe that 37, 38 points would be enough for us to stay in the league, because I don't believe that Fulham will get that many points. I think one of the key things has been for our run without our front three players. We've still picked up points. It's not been enough, and we've wanted the 3 points, and we felt we should have been getting the 3 points. But the draw at West Brom, the draw at home to Villa, the draw at home to Wolves, you know, all of those points have still got us into this position. We've still picked up those points. And it wasn't long ago that Fulham were doing exactly the same. They weren't playing amazingly well or weren't winning games that they should have, but they were picking up points here and there. And all of a sudden, it turned into a couple of wins. I'm confident that we'll go and do exactly the same. And that those draws will start turning into wins. And when it turns into wins, it will see us safe.
Okay. Holly, can you see anybody getting dragged into it?
I think Brighton and Burnley have both got a chance of getting dragged into it, which is kind of to be expected, because if we beat them in the next game, then it just becomes tighter and tighter. And I suppose for neutrals, it makes the league more interesting when there's a few teams in the mix and it's not just a few that are dead and buried. I think it is quite a tight, close season. And yeah, I don't think by any means it'll just be between like us and Fulham. I think a few teams could get dragged into it, and like the points total aren't really that far apart. So yeah, I think that it could be between Brighton and Burnley getting dragged into it now.
Okay, Alicia?
Yeah, I completely agree. I think it could still be all play for between us, Brighton and Burnley. As we say, if we beat Burnley, we're on our way to leapfrogging them, and then it causes a whole different situation. So as a neutral, it must be very entertaining to watch, but for us, not so much, because it just makes us even more nervous. But I still think there's a good chance that Brighton and Burnley could be dragged into it 100%.
Yeah, and Chris, just to reiterate what you said before, you know, you were talking about Brighton, but there could be other teams. Burnley's another one, Chris, which which people have mentioned. Lots of people mentioning them in the chat. Wolves again, not 100% safe.
No, absolutely. Do you know what? I was just while you were all talking, then I was just literally looking at all the fixtures, and I think before having looked at the fixtures, I probably would have said I'd fancy Brighton more than Burnley, but I'm going to completely change my mind now, because I've just had a look at the fixtures, and Brighton's run is Everton at home, Chelsea away, Sheffield United away, Leeds at home, Wolves away, West Ham at home, City at home, and Arsenal away. Whereas Burnley have got us at home, Man United away, Wolves away, West Ham at home, Sheffield United away, Leeds at home, Liverpool at home, and Sheffield United at home. So I'm gonna say Burnley are the ones. I know Dyche has been there for a while now, and he's done a fantastic job. They've got Chris Wood up front, who I'm a really big fan of, and obviously they've got Dwight McNeil on the wing as well. They have got some really solid players, Burnley, but you just wonder whether, these things run out, don't they? And Burnley have never had a lot of money. They kind of get by with what they've got. I particularly like Graham Potter at Brighton. I think he does play some nice football, and I do still think I find it bizarre that their expected goals tally is so high, and really Brighton probably shouldn't be where they are. So yeah, I think if anyone was going to get sucked in, I'd say Burnley.
Great show, Jeff. I love your theory, Jeff. He says teams beginning with B often get relegated, in my opinion. Great stuff, Jeff. We'll go with that. We definitely don't begin with a B. And Mark says, thanks for your questions, Mark. He says, supporting Newcastle is so stressful for so many reasons, hence why me, Stephen Pete, have no hair. Hey, fantastic show. Thanks, Holly. Thanks, Pete. I know you haven't been too well, Pete, either. So thanks for keeping your best performance for the show for the viewers. Chris and Alicia as well. Great to have your input, and very positive show. Enjoy the rest of your bank holiday. I am back tomorrow night with Liam at the usual time of 6 till 7. See what Liam has got to say on current affairs with regards to Newcastle United. Thanks to Spider VPN for their continued sponsorship for internet security. Give them a look up online. Also to Geordie Riffs, who are the premium guitar lessons for beginners and children. Guitar repairs and servicing, recording studio. Find them at geordieriffs.co.uk. Give them a follow on Instagram at Geordie Riffs and Facebook, Geordie Riffs Official. Also, a big shout out to qtechshop.co.uk, the makers of pool tables and snooker tables in Newcastle, and to Jab Signature. Subscribe to the channel, click the badge. 2,000 new subscribers in the last 28 days. 5 million impressions on the channel. We're not dead yet. Newcastle Legends badge in the bottom right hand corner. Give it a subscription. Just hit the thumb up as well. Like the video. Give it a share as well. Been a great show. Hope you all have a great bank holiday or end to the bank holiday. And I'll see you tomorrow night. Thanks, guys.
Take care, guys.
Take care.
Critics attack. It feels like I've been talking to myself again. But it's the only way you're ever gonna learn. You love